Hey everyone, welcome back to the OurSociety Experiment. In today's Making the Movement episode, we're going to discuss some of the challenges with the current two-party system from the perspective of the OurSociety Experiment's objectives. Our objective here at OurSociety is create a free and open election campaign platform. We're doing that because we believe politics is a money problem, and our society can never truly be as great or as free as we'd like to be while corporations and private interest groups can influence our legal and legislative practices. We believe that our society is a pathway to empower more people than ever before to run for office, even at a local level all the way up to the national level, encouraging the innovation and experimentation of the ways of living in society, creating a system of alternatives in a system that traditionally with a two-party system really has no alternatives. So how does the two-party system relate to the OurSociety Experiment? Well, we believe that the two-party system discourages individuals from running for office, and we think it does that through a number of ways. As we've discussed in previous videos, the two-party system operates like a well-integrated machine. At every level of government, there are representatives and parties, Democratic parties and Republican parties for the main part, the two parties, that do everything in their power to keep people who subscribe to their team or their ideals, quote-unquote, in power. But the problem is, as we're seeing today, is those ideals aren't that consistent. We're seeing, that there's fractures right now in the two-party system on both sides. You have the traditional centrist Democrats, which is very slow, linear pace. You have progressives who want a more exponential growth pace. You have conservatives who want fiscal responsibility, low spending, and really they favor the wealthier citizens. And then you have really, the alt-right, quote-unquote, the really aggressive isolationists, essentially they run campaigns on racism and negativity. So so you have this kind of fracture of the two-party system. So it's a unique time for us to be talking about that. So we are seeing the fracturing creates opportunity, and I think that this is the case with any traumatic crisis, so to speak, and really. Most of U.S. policy is developed, most major U.S. change is developed through crisis. And our society and the two-party system perpetuates that. Because what happens is, because of the corporate sponsorship of the two-party system, you have continuing things like, for example, deregulation of banks, which very recently Republicans and Democrats, which was really surprising, voted to have loosen financial restrictions and regulations. Which I thought was really fascinating. But it shows something that the money in politics problem is still more real than ever. If we as a collective thought that half our Congress was split and they weren't taking any more money, that is not the case. They are still actively pursuing the interests of their corporate donors. So right away, the two-party system is propped up by private interests and private donors. So that is inherently a negative aspect for the freedom of ideas and experiment and innovation in our systems of being. So that's one aspect, the money in politics, and how the two-party system really plays very tightly to money in politics. The second aspect is it limits ideals and ideas. It doesn't allow for more in-depth solutions and issues. It allows for issues that align to the party's ticket and the party's major benefactors. So not only do we talked just very briefly about money in politics, but it's so deep a problem it permeates every level. There's almost ideas that you couldn't do because of corporate sponsorships. So for example, let's say the U.S. wanted to nationalize the education system. Well, there's going to be a lot of for-profit institutions that would be very much against that. Even though a nationalized education program could raise the quality of education across the U.S., without a doubt. Right now, education is tied to local municipalities, and not only that, but the programs of education that kids are taught can be dictated by the states. Now, states should, of course, be laboratories of experimentation. However, democracy relies on a highly educated population. It's a cornerstone of a successful democracy. As citizens of all shapes and sizes, all of us agree, I think one of the core agreements is that we'd want the best opportunities for our children. And a highly educated child is a positive contributor to society and will have a lot more opportunity in society. Now that's not to say that highly educated people can't do manual labor jobs, like trade jobs. This has nothing to do with economic choices or trade choices. This just has to do with everyone should be free to pursue what they desire, and if that's a trade, so be it. But a trade shouldn't mean that they should be limited in their opportunity for a quality education. These types of solutions, these types of national problems or projects, I should say, are not supported under a two-party system because the two-party systems rely on combat and division to rally their base. So instead of working at a more collaborative, cooperative, and national project base, especially for specific things like things that increase the public good, education, healthcare, access to information, transportation, these are things that could benefit more from a more nationally cooperative effort, but the two-party system makes that very challenging because, again, the parties have to stay within their ideals. A third aspect of the two-party system that really harms American democracy and really something that our society would have the potential to really solve is that it prevents change. So what happens with the two-party system is once you're embedded in the system, it's very hard to break into that system if you're not embedded, I should say. As an independent candidate, your chances are very limited because the finances used in campaigns really outweigh and outspend you. You've probably, if you haven't already, we've published a video earlier about the 2018 money generated for the New Jersey election so far, and it's just staggering. It's staggering the amount of wealth that's concentrated. Some candidates, for example, our Senator Bob Menendez, he's running for re-election, he's raised 51 times the amount of money than his closest competitor. It's just a silencing of ideas. Now, it's not about Bob Menendez as a person, it's about the system that allows for that much excess capital to be flooded into it, and the responsibilities that come with that. So the two-party system limits innovation by design. And that's one of the challenges, is even making the legislative changes we would need to kind of buck the two-party system aren't happening quick enough because there's people elected who want it to stay that way, so they stay elected. And that becomes a fundamental challenge, is that the two-party system limits innovation in the system itself, not just all law, but in innovating the system of democracy. That aspect right there, innovating the system of democracy, ties into a core OurSociety principle, right? That we treat society as a technology, and we should constantly look to innovate, experiment, and improve society for the greater good, the greater collective. OurSociety is what we believe to be a vehicle towards that type of future, a way to elect candidates very rapidly into office who focus on issues that will be beneficial to the more collective good and helping us sway a more inclusive and progressive future that allows the benefit for everyone. And the only way we do that is through a civic engagement platform, by getting more people involved in democracy. Again, our society is now non-partisan. We don't support a specific party, and we have a problem with both parties, as you can tell from this video. We believe that a more collaborative democracy is the best way forward, and we believe the best way to do that is through data. Because a collaborative democracy opens up new ideas and new potential for opportunity for people all over the U.S. And that's kind of why we believe that the two-party system is detrimental to that. So that was kind of a brief summary. We could spend more time talking about the two-party system at a later date, but these are just three brief topics of why a two-party system presents some serious challenges to improvement and innovation, and more importantly, why our society is designed to help empower individuals like yourself and many others like you to run for office, to become involved in your communities for free, and help make the change necessary to transition America into the new knowledge economy, the new knowledge future, and a future that's more inclusive and provides more opportunity to every human being, not just those who've hyper-concentrated wealth. So again, thanks so much for joining in the OurSociety Experiment discussion today. We'll see you guys next time.